Imagine building a multi-million-dollar empire with your best friends, only for them to throw you into a dark cell and take everything you love. They thought they buried Thomas Abbott, but they forgot that he was the one who built the shovel. Welcome to NHK Revenge. Today, we witness a betrayal so deep it will make your blood boil, and a revenge so calculated it will leave you speechless. Don't forget to like and subscribe to NHK Revenge for more epic justice stories. The Brotherhood of Lies. Thomas Abbott was a genius architect of software. Growing up in a small town, he had two best friends, Liam Bosch and Victor Vance. They were inseparable. In their early 20s, they started a tech company called TriApex. Thomas was the brain, the coder, Liam was the face, the salesman, and Victor was the muscle, the operations. For 5 years, they worked day and night. Thomas developed a revolutionary encryption software that every bank in the world wanted. It was worth billions. But as the money started flowing in, greed began to rot Liam and Victor's hearts. The frame-up. A week before the company was to go public on the stock exchange, a move that would make Thomas one of the richest men in the world, Liam and Victor called an emergency meeting. "Thomas, there's a problem with the federal audit," Liam said, looking strangely calm. Before Thomas could respond, the door burst open. FBI agents flooded the room. "Thomas Abbott, you are under arrest for money laundering and selling state secrets to foreign entities." Thomas was shocked. "What? That's impossible. Check the logs." But when he looked at Liam and Victor, they weren't shocked. They were smiling. They had used Thomas's own private access keys to frame him. All the evidence pointed to Thomas. His friends testified against him in court, shedding crocodile tears while they usurped his shares in the company. The darkest hour. Thomas was sentenced to 10 years in a high-security prison. His reputation was destroyed. His mother, unable to bear the shame and the loss of their family home, which Liam had seized, passed away while Thomas was behind bars. He wasn't even allowed to attend her funeral. In the cold silence of his cell, Thomas didn't cry. He didn't scream. He remembered the motto of his grandfather: "The loudest sound in the world is the silence of a man planning his return." Mid-video engagement. Friends, the betrayal has just begun. If you think what Liam and Victor did was evil, wait until you see how Thomas prepares for his comeback. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to share NHK Revenge with your friends. Your support helps us bring these stories of justice to life. The Prison Scholar. Thomas didn't waste a second. In prison, he became a ghost. He helped the guard with their taxes, he tutored the inmates, and in return, he got access to the library and a primitive computer. For 8 years, he got out early for good behavior. He didn't just study code. He studied Liam and Victor. He watched from a distance as TriApex became a global titan. Liam was now a celebrity billionaire, living in a mansion with a view of the city. Victor was a powerful socialite. They had everything that belonged to Thomas. But Thomas had something they didn't: the master key. When Thomas was originally building the software, he had built a fail-safe, not for crime, but for security. It was a piece of code buried so deep that even he had almost forgotten it. It was dormant, waiting for a specific signal: the release. The day Thomas stepped out of prison, he had nothing but a small bag of clothes and a burning fire in his heart. He walked past the skyscrapers of his old company. He saw Liam's face on a giant digital billboard. "Enjoy the view, Liam," Thomas whispered, "because the higher you are, the more it hurts when you hit the pavement." Thomas Abbott is free, but he has no money, no home, and 2 billionaires as enemies. How can a man with nothing take down an empire? The answer lies in a single line of code: the Ultra. This was part 1 of The Shadow's Dead. The real game starts in the next episode. Will Thomas lose everything again, or is he about to delete his enemy's existence? Subscribe to NHK Revenge and hit the bell icon so you don't miss part 2. A man who has lost everything is the most dangerous ghost in the machine. Thomas Abbott is out of prison, and while his enemies, Liam and Victor, are popping champagne in their penthouses, Thomas is in the shadows, counting their sins. Welcome back to NHK Revenge. Today, the hunter becomes the hacker. Don't forget to like and subscribe to NHK Revenge to see how a billionaire's empire can be dismantled with a single line of code. The digital ghost. Thomas Abbott didn't go back to his old life. He couldn't. He was a convicted felon in the eyes of the public. He moved into a cramped, humid basement in the industrial district, far from the neon lights of the Tri-Apex towers. With a few $100s he had saved from prison work, he built a Frankenstein computer, a machine made of salvage parts but powered by his genius mind. He knew he couldn't take them down with a gun. He had to take them down with the truth. Thomas started by ghosting their lives. He didn't just hack their emails. He lived in their systems. He watched their security cameras, read their private messages, and tracked every cent that moved through their bank accounts. Phase 1. The weak link. Thomas identified the weak link, Victor Vance. While Liam Bosch was the polished politician, Victor was a man of greed and excess. Victor had been skimming money from the company's security fund to pay for his illegal gambling debts. Thomas didn't report him to the police yet. Instead, he began a psychological war. He sent Victor a single, anonymous file, a video of Victor's own office from an angle that shouldn't exist. Attached was a message. "I see the ghost in your ledger, Victor. The debt is coming due." Victor panicked. He started making mistakes. He became paranoid, accusing his own staff of spying on him. The brotherhood between Liam and Victor began to crack. Betrayal breeds paranoia. Thomas is playing them like a violin. If you're rooting for Thomas, hit that like button right now. At NHK Revenge, we believe that no matter how high you climb on a ladder of lies, the fall is always the same. Subscribe to NHK Revenge and stay tuned for the ultimate downfall. Phase 2. Poisoning the well. Thomas then turned his attention to Liam Bosch. Liam was trying to launch a new global integrity initiative to clean up the company's image. Thomas waited for the perfect moment. He discovered that the encryption software they were selling to the government, the one Thomas originally designed, had been backdoored by Liam. Liam was selling the private keys to data brokers on the dark web for even more profit. He was literally selling the privacy of the nation. Thomas didn't leak it to the press. Not yet. He wanted them to be at their highest point before he cut the rope. He planted a logic bomb inside the Tri-Apex mainframe. It was a piece of code that would activate only when Liam's face appeared on the global live stream during the upcoming product launch. The night before the storm, Thomas sat in his dark basement, the blue light of the monitor reflecting in his hollow eyes. He looked at a digital photo of his mother. "I'm almost there, Mom," he whispered. He had successfully diverted $50 million from Liam's offshore accounts into a restoration fund he had secretly set up for the families Liam had stepped on. The money was moving through a labyrinth of servers in Switzerland and the Cayman Islands. Liam wouldn't notice it was gone until it was too late to stop the transfer. He then sent a final, untraceable email to Liam's private phone. It was a picture of the old Abbott family home, the house Liam had stolen and turned into a guest house for his mansion. The caption read, "The foundations are rotting, Liam. Can you hear the walls cracking?" Liam threw his phone across the room in a rage. He felt a chill he couldn't explain. He thought he had buried Thomas Abbott, but the shadow was now everywhere. The trap is set. The logic bomb is ticking. Tomorrow is the biggest day in Tri-Apex history, and the world will be watching. But Victor is losing his mind, and Liam is becoming desperate. Will Thomas's plan work, or will his enemies find him before he can hit the final enter key? The stage is set for the most satisfying ending in the history of NHK Revenge. You've seen the betrayal. You've seen the infiltration. Now get ready for the execution. If you want to see the final part of The Shadow's Dead, make sure you've subscribed and turned on all notifications. See you in the finale. The stage is set. The world is watching, and the man they thought they destroyed is holding the detonator. Today, the billion-dollar empire of Tri-Apex faces its final judgment. Thomas Abbott didn't come for their money. He came for their souls. Welcome to the finale on NHK Revenge. If you've been waiting for the most satisfying ending of the year, this is it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to NHK Revenge, because justice never sleeps. The grand launch. The grand ballroom of the Apex Tower was filled with the world's elite. Liam Bosch stood at the podium, a smug grin on his face, ready to unveil the new Global Guard software. Victor Vance stood behind him, sweating profusely, his hands shaking after the anonymous threats he'd been receiving. Today, Liam boomed into the microphone. We bring the world a new era of security. A world where trust is guaranteed by TriApex. High above them, in a server room he had built with his own hands years ago, Thomas Abbott was plugged into the mainframe. He wasn't a prisoner anymore. He was the architect of their doom, the live execution. As Liam pressed the button to launch the software, the giant 8K screens behind him didn't show the product. Instead, the screen turned a deep blood red. A massive countdown began. 10, 9, 8. What is this? Liam hissed at the technicians, but their consoles were dead. Thomas had locked the entire building's security system. NHK, Revenge Mid-Hook. When you build a throne out of lies, you shouldn't be surprised when it burns. You're watching the climax on NHK Revenge. We've seen Thomas suffer for 8 years. Now, we see him settle the score. If you think Liam and Victor deserve what's coming, type justice in the comments right now and subscribe for more. When the countdown hit 0, the audio speakers roared. It wasn't music. It was the recording of Liam and Victor from 8 years ago, laughing as they planted the evidence that sent Thomas to prison. He's too smart for his own good. Victor's voice echoed through the hall. By the time he realizes we framed him, I'll be on a yacht and he'll be in a cell. To the king of fools, Thomas Abbott. The audience of investors and journalists went silent. Then, the screens began scrolling through the real-time bank transfers Thomas had initiated. The $50 million he took from Liam was shown being distributed, live, to the families of the employees Liam had fired and cheated. The collapse of an empire. Victor Vance broke first. He tried to run for the exit, but the biometric doors wouldn't open. He turned to the crowd, screaming, "It was Liam's idea. You made me do it." Liam Bosch, the man who thought he was a god, looked up at the security camera in the corner. He knew Thomas was watching. "You think this changes anything, Thomas?" Liam shouted at the ceiling. "I have the best lawyers in the world. You're still a nobody." Suddenly, the screens changed one last time. It showed the FBI and the National Security Agency, NSA, storming the ground floor of the building. Thomas hadn't just leaked their secrets. He had sent the master keys Liam was selling on the dark web directly to the authorities. This wasn't a PR scandal anymore. It was high treason, the final face-to-face. As the police swarmed the ballroom, Thomas walked out onto the balcony of the server room, looking down at the chaos. He made eye contact with Liam for one split second. Thomas didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He simply held up the key to his mother's old house, the house he had just bought back with the legal whistleblower reward he earned. He turned around and vanished into the service corridors before the police could reach the top floor. As the police swarmed the ballroom, Thomas walked out onto the balcony of the server room, looking down at the chaos. He made eye contact with Liam for one split second. Thomas didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He simply held up the key to his mother's old house, the house he had just bought back with the legal whistleblower reward he earned. He turned around and vanished into the service corridors before the police could reach the top floor. The aftermath. Liam Bosch and Victor Vance were led out in handcuffs, their faces plastered on every news channel in the world. Their assets were frozen, their company was liquidated, and they were sentenced to consecutive life terms for treason and fraud. Thomas Abbott didn't become a billionaire. He didn't want that life anymore. He used his remaining funds to open the Abbott Justice Center, a legal clinic that helped the wrongfully accused fight back against the powerful. He stood at his mother's grave, the wind blowing softly through the trees. He placed a small, silver TriApex pin on the headstone and walked away. The debt was finally settled. They thought they buried him, but they didn't know he was a seed. Thomas Abbott's revenge